News audience, how are you? I pray all is well on your end. Today we have a great show. You guys, we brought back Michelle Dominique. Before we get into the topic today, I just want to give you a little insight on what we're going to be sharing on today. I did promise you guys that I was going to bring Michelle Dominique back for part 2 of Listen to Your Body. And today we're going to be talking about the connection between the mental health and the gut. Did you know that a troubled intestine can send signals to the brain just as a troubled brain can send signals to the gut? My son always say to me that you're going to be either sick in the mind or sick in the body, and I prefer not to be sick neither way. But statistics has proven that there is a connection there. So therefore, a person's stomach or intestine distress can be the cause of the product of anxiety, stress, or depression, guys. That's because the brain and the GI system are intimately connected. GI means gastrointestinal. Okay, so today we brought Michelle back, the licensed health and wellness coach, to teach us why do we have this gut and why is it so stubborn to get rid of? Hello, Michelle. Welcome back to the show.
That's way more fancier than I would have ever explained it, but that's about the gist of it. So let's break that down in digestible bites that the average person can understand, which is what I like to do. But before we did that, we talked about stress and anxiety, two huge factors in life today, and especially more than people realize, it is a huge cause of why we have gut issues in the first place. You might have heard the term gut flight or fight. That's where you constantly act as if you were about to go zip lining. And what do I mean by that? It's like if you were going zip lining, you wouldn't take a deep cleansing. No, you wouldn't do that because you're about to jump off of something and there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of anxiety and there's a lot of, excitement, but that's not the time to take a deep breath, right? You're just like, okay, because you're about to jump. But that's not the breath that you want to have in your gut when you're trying to eat food. Okay, so when you're trying to eat food, you don't want a skydiving breath. You want to take a deep woosah kind of breath. You want it to go all the way down to open up your organs and settle. That's the breath of life. So right now, before we get really good into this, let's just take a moment and do that. Because I know some of you, if you're like me, you're in between things. Because as we're doing this interview, I'm in between things, So it's like, just take a deep breath. And this is where the essential oils are so vital. And I don't mean those fragrance things in the bottle. I mean the true therapeutic essential oils. Let me just throw this little plug in. I'm doing those classes on Thursday, and they're absolutely free for energy clearing because we need to kind of get that done. People need to understand how important that is. So you could go to my Instagram page, Michelle, the Health Coach. Thursdays at 7:15, we're doing energy clearing with essential oils. But nonetheless,
don't rush past that. Wait a minute.
Yes. So it's at 7:15-ish, mainly 7:15. If I have a very chatty client, sometimes I come on a little late, and I also give time for technical difficulties. But if you want to find out what that's about, last week I actually did reflexology points with essential oils. And so we did the breathing point. And I can't wait to come back because we have some tremendous testimonies of people who just last week had just tremendous breakthroughs and honestly got to feel for the first time in a long time what it was like to take a deep breath. I call it the breath of life, not the bungee jumping breath, not the skydiving breath, but we're going all the way down. So you can catch that on Thursdays, Michelle, the Health Coach on Instagram is where we're doing that.
Oh, wow.
Because we just don't realize how important that is. So let's just stop right now. I have my oils, whatever you have. And if you don't have oils, that's okay. They just enhance the experience. But let's just take a moment. And seriously, if you are taking a deep breath, your shoulders should not be heaving up. That's not a deep breath. It goes down. Your belly should be expanding on that breath. Holding that just a second. It's like doing an internal massage for your stomach. Bringing that all the way up and expelling it. Do that one more time. And I just want you to imagine like a balloon in your belly, because you know what? As we talk about, Joan, digestion, this is why breath is so important. All day long, we sit, our stomachs are cramped. We put buckles and belts and everything in that midsection, thick tops, waistbands, all of that stuff affects our digestion. And then we don't even get breath all the way down there, huh? So let's just take a moment. This is a great practice to do before you eat. Open up your gut. Start to stimulate your digestive enzymes so that when your food comes down, it can be received and digested. So going back to what you said, yes, that connection that you're talking about, where the brain not only speaks to the gut, but the gut speaks to the brain, that's called the vagus nerve. VAGAS, the vagus nerve. It's like a super highway. And why that's so important is up until now, up until very recently, nobody, not even scientists, figured out that the gut talked back. Now, I'm not going to say not recently. There was some research before, but it's just coming out now in the mainstream. But yes, the gut speaks back. So the question to be asked is, what is your gut saying? What does your gut have to say? What is inside of your gut, and what is it going to say? Is it going to say something powerful, or is it going to say, help me, I am in distress? All right. So that's a huge thing. And one of the main things that's very important, before the saying used to be, you are what you eat. And that's no longer true. That is not true at all. It is not you are what you eat. It is you are what you digest. Because what you're not digesting is actually just sitting there. So we can even say you are what you don't digest. So I just want you to think about that, because we can even go a step further and say, not just you are what you haven't digested, not just today, but in the past. And see, that's where people get tripped up when I'm coaching people, because you want to tell me about all the fantastic, wonderful things that you're doing now, but I have to ask the question, what did you do before then? See, now you're conscious and you're paying attention to what you've eaten, and you cut out fried food. But when you were swinging it 5 nights a week, where did that go? Where did that hydrogenated oil go? You know, have you ever smelled, Minister Joan, have you ever smelled rancid oil?
Why you know that Minister out? Because now I feel bad.
Huh?
You said Minister Joan. Now I feel bad. I can't even answer the question. I gotta eat.
You know what? We have to be transparent for the people now, don't we? Got to be transparent for the people.
Okay.
Let me just pick on me.
Okay.
Because see, before there's a reason why I health coach. Part of it is my health, and of course, you've heard the story of my mother when she stroked out and ended up in the system. And then in nursing care, and the bewilderment I had about what we called medical care. It's like, is this what we're doing? And as a result of caring for her, my health suffered from stress and anxiety and getting in. And I was eating better than the average person, but still on the go. Okay. So I wanted to talk about rancid oils because that's leading me right where I want to go. If you've ever smelled oil that's rancid, that is just like, wow, what is that? And if you've ever tasted it, quick story, the first time I ever tasted rancid oil was at Dusty's house. She didn't cook with olive oil, and I was over there one day, and culinary school me, that was my thing. And I was like, oh, you have olive oil? Let's saute up these onions.
Uh-huh.
Girl, I sauteed up those onions in that rancid olive oil and was like, we sat down to eat, and I said, well, what is this taste? What herb did I use up in here? Come to find out, the doggone oil was rancid. Now, that's a funny story, but all that Popeyes I used to eat, those onion rings I used to love, rancid oil, because your body wasn't digesting that hydrogenated oil. Where is it? It is still trying to process, or it is lining the gut wall. So when I ask you, what is your gut saying? I'm not saying today. The issues I have with leaky gut, that didn't start today. I had to track that back. That was a while back. So I'm still trying to repair what happened back then in my fast food days, in my high stress days, in my, trauma days, because the body keeps score. There's a book, I'm going to keep saying that there's a book called The Body Keeps Score. And it does, because if you live through a period of trauma, perceived or not, that you internalize that somewhere in your body. And for me, it was in my gut. So here's why our first topic of today is going to be so very important when we ask the question, what is your gut saying? What are you? What haven't you digest? What's in your body? One thing that very few people know about and should be a mainstay in everybody's diet, especially kids. Remember, kids get the worst food, the absolute nutrient void food. High on the list, kids. It's just sad. It's really sad. So everybody should be taking every day, pretty much with every meal, digestive enzymes. And I know some people are going to balk like, well, if they're kids, then why are they taking it? Their normal enzymes should be kicking in, but we don't foster and we don't nourish the gut. And when you got kids slamming down milk and chocolate milk and sorry, we are reaching that point where even the kids need supplements like we need supplements because the dietary is just not supporting what should be happening in their body. Mm-hmm. So enzymes are hugely, hugely important. Like I said, it's not what I'm eating now. It's those onion rings that I used to love and eat almost every night back then that I still have to contend with. Because when that stuff goes in your gut and your body cannot recognize it, it can't pass it. So, the stomach shoots it down to the small intestine and say, hey, I don't know what this was. Can you figure this out? Mm-hmm. The small intestine says, I don't, because it doesn't see nutrients. It's looking for vitamin A, vitamin K. It's looking for, those things that it's supposed to be able to use and pass on. That's what the small intestine does. The stomach breaks down the food, which is another, we're going to have to do a whole segment on breaking down the food because folks need to stop swallowing their food like it's vitamins. Take 2 chews and take a gulp with something and no, stop it. It's not a pill. The breakdown starts in your mouth with the chewing. We need a whole topic on just chewing. But nonetheless,
it's possible we could be chewing incorrectly.
Girl, I would be happy if folks just chewed at all. I'm serious. When next time you're out, you just watch. People just, and my daughter was notorious for that. I would kick her under the table, like chew it. She'd put a big, what are you doing? What is that? you know, you missed the first step of the digestive. Second step, that's step two in your mouth. The saliva was designed to break that stuff up, but you're sending it into your gut whole, which is taxing your gut because not only is the food not void of nutrients, but now it's coming down whole. So you're putting extra pressure on the gut to break that food down, which takes hours. The digestive process takes hours as it is. That's why if you wake up tired, or you generally, if I have a client who tells me, oh, I don't eat breakfast, or I'm waking up so tired, the first thing I'm asking is, what are you eating before bed? If you're eating protein, if you're eating heavy carbs, your body, when it should be resting and regenerating, when the adrenaline should stop, your body is spending its night working like a double shift because it has to break down that 12-ounce steak that you decided to have before bed. You know what I mean? So that's throwing everything off. So we have to understand how the body works and giving a break. And for those of you who are telling me, I fast, okay, I'm gonna leave that alone. That's another thing, but for those who are eating heavy, you have to understand. Now, I'm not saying don't stop eating at 4 and stop eating at 6. Most times I don't get into bed until 11. I would be passed out, in bed hungry. But what I'm saying is I usually end my night with vegetables for two reasons, for two very big reasons. Like last night I had a coleslaw kind of vinaigrette thing that I made right before bed. Why? Because when I open my eyes in the morning, within an hour, bam, it's coming. Why? Because I loaded my body with fiber before I went to bed. Oh. And that fiber is going to do the job of cleansing my gut out, where if I had ended with a burger, then my night would have been spent trying to process that with the small intestine, figuring out what to do with this stuff that it doesn't know what to do with. So it's a really big deal. If you're not eating vegetables any other day, any other meal of the day, make it for the evening. So let me go on with these digestive enzymes. So if you don't see now why enzymes are important, enzymes are the way your body breaks down food. Unfortunately, we're talking about stress. You hit it on the head when you talked about stress and anxiety. Those are the two killers of the gut. They are the gut, you can call them gut disruptors. And unfortunately, we are currently in a situation like today, the girl at work, I saw her at 9. By 10 o'clock, she was going home with COVID. What? Are we doing this again? Everybody's like, where's the mask? Where's the mask? What? Yeah, so it's like, okay, we're doing this again. So talk about anxiety. I'm like, yeah, that's why I keep my room with these oils and all of this going on. Y'all can have that. So we have to start talking about how the food is breaking down, how the food is breaking down in your gut. Don't think that everything you eat comes out. Please don't be deceived. Because if the small intestine doesn't recognize it and it tries to kick it down to the bowel to pass it, the lower intestine, it'll say, I don't know what this is. And it'll just shoot it right back up. And it just goes back and forth and back every meal, not once a day, every single meal that is going back and forth. Like the small intestine is like, just kick it out. And the large intestine is like, what is it? And, it's just back and forth until it just sits on the colon wall. And then with a lot of people, you'll get what's called leaky gut. That's when you have, particles of food that actually pierce through the intestine because you got all this extra stuff hanging around. It's not that straight chute that you see at the doctor's office on the poster. It does not look like that at all. The average gut, no matter what size you are, for your size, is we think like tennis court. There's that much intestine in your body. That's why people can have a blockage and get it cut out and still go on with life because you have so much of it. But it's not meant to be extra. It serves a purpose along each step.
So let me
So
ask
with
you this. Let me ask you this. So when I weigh myself, sometimes I'm just going to throw out a number because I don't know what you know my weight. But sometimes I will weigh myself at 155, and I'll come back later on in the day, and I'm like in the morning I'm 155, but later on in the day after I've gotten through eating, I'm like maybe 157. Can your gut be 5 pounds extra? I mean, does that make sense?
No, and that's a good thing. That's why we're going to have to do that show on lymphatic drainage. Okay, so that's going to be pretty important. It usually doesn't pack on that quickly because remember, it doesn't settle in chunks. Normally, it's like pieces, because it does get broken up to a degree. So you generally don't have a 5-pound piece there. Just like when you go to the bathroom in the morning, and when I use my Tava tea and I go to the bathroom in the morning. I promise you, I wish I could weigh it because it's like, that got to be 2 pounds right there. I know that was 2 pounds. Come on. And I get on the scale and it's the same, right? That quick fluctuation, that's just, come on, you've used that top. No, like, whoo, Lord, let me weigh that. So no, what that is fluid. And so we talked about that before, but we're actually going to have to do a show on lymphatic drainage because that can be affected by atmospheric pressure, if there's a lot of humidity in the air, all kind of things. If it's a sinus season, all of that can make a difference. So let me go into these enzymes. All right. Your body produces enzymes, right? Generally, what your body produces are metabolic and dietary enzymes. Heat on food, some of the food, the vegetables, the live foods supposed to come with enzymes. But once you put heat in it, you apply heat to it, you kill that off. So, hate to tell you that, but for a lot of people, you can't even eat raw because your gut can't stand that level of fiber. It's past breaking it down. You're in distress. So lightly steaming, but over nuking will kill the vegetables, will kill the vitamins. Lightly steaming will keep the vitamins, but it does kill the enzymes. So that's why it's important with every meal. We're not creating enzymes. Like I said, we're not breathing deep. We have stress, we have anxiety, the food that we have, and also environmental factors, from carpets, from cleaning products, all of those things are really compromising the gut enzymes, thus affecting the body's ability to break down food, right? So you have two things. You have metabolic enzymes and dietary enzymes. So we're not really producing stomach enzymes. Those are the dietary. So what's left are the metabolic enzymes. Your body is supposed to use those to handle cell reproduction. That's what the metabolic is supposed to do because your body regenerates itself. That's what it's designed to do. At night, when the adrenaline stops, if you're not losing weight, if you're not sleeping, weight loss is going to be very hard for you. All right. Because there's a lot of stuff that I keep talking about overnight. There's a lot of things that should be happening overnight. So when there are not enough stomach enzymes, the body will convert those metabolic enzymes and start using those for gut enzymes. Now, what happens is called, your mom and my mama used to say it alike, especially around bill time, robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? That's what that becomes, robbing Peter to pay Paul. So what is missing with that is that, one, you need that cell regeneration, right? You're going to need that to fight chronic illness, to fight viruses. So it's very important to have not just enzymes, but the proper enzymes. Enzymes are very, very important. I'm looking for my notes here because that's why I was like, wait, I got stuff all over the place here. So the type of enzymes you take are going to be very, very important. You can't just pick up the ones at the counter. The enzymes help you to, one, break down food. That's the number one thing that's going to go in, to actually literally break down the food. Okay. Number two, this is vital. And I talked about this before just a moment ago. and I keep talking about this, the soil is not the same. So whatever nutrients you can get, you need to get them. The enzymes are going to help to increase your nutrient absorption in the body because it breaks through all the foolishness and pulls out what's actually usable and sustainable for the body.
Okay.
The third thing is going to promote comfortable digestion. One of the worst commercials of all time to me is the one with the chicken wing, and it's like smacking the guy in the face. It's like, is your food fighting you back? Reach for no, don't reach for that. Put the thing down. Put the thing down. Get you some enzymes, not something that's just going to shut off your gut acid. You need that acid in your stomach. There's a reason for that. If you have too much, then that can be resolved through enzymes, probiotics, and lifestyle changes. Never shut off. I see people, biggest mistake of all, drinking alkaline water all day. You don't shut off your gut. That will shut off your gut acid when you need that to digest food. If you're gonna take that, that's at night, first thing in the morning. You don't drink that stuff all day because it shuts down your digestion. Digestive enzymes also increases the usability of the nutrients. Your body needs that to function. Also, it helps with it can help with comfort after eating out. I have to take digestion enzymes all the time. We all do, but especially when you have food allergies. For me, it's gluten sensitivity. If I'm eating out, I don't know what's in the food. It can say gluten-free, but I don't know how that goes. So I'm always taking an enzyme because I know the minute it hits my stomach, I'm going to feel it like, yeah, that wasn't good. Let me take an enzyme because it helps to settle that. And it also helps to restore proper digestive function. Why is proper digestive function important? That's why folks ain't pooping. That's why you're not releasing, because your body doesn't even know what you just put in it.
So I have a question for somebody had asked this question, and every time they eat, they feel nausea. They feel nauseated. So is that
that could be a variety of reasons, but the first thing I would recommend is enzymes.
Okay.
That's generally a sign of, well, it could be several things. One, it could be angst. You got a lot of anxiety going on, and you're asking, digestion is huge. That's why if somebody's sick, please don't give them food. That's the time for broth, soups with cooked, really soft vegetables, because you want something in and out really quick. It takes hours for the body to digest food. So if someone's really sick, please don't give them a whole plate of food and say, eat, you need to eat. No, because then you take away from the immune process, because the body has to take hours now to digest all this food that it may or may not even be able to use, right? The other thing from that could be it's a food allergy, a food sensitivity. Like me, I have a sensitivity to gluten, also to dairy. If I'm eating food like that, here are the triggers, and I have all of them: gluten, soy, dairy, and corn. Corn is not a side dish vegetables that you want to give your kids. It is not. That's a treat occasionally. It is very hard for the body to digest corn in any form. And not just that, pretty much 95% of the crop is GMO, because they also use it for fuel, they use it for plastics, they use it for petroleum, they use it for so much. They use it to feed animals, so they have to mass produce it. And you know what happens when they have to mass produce it? It needs to come quick, and then the chemicals come in. Okay, so for that person too, I would also recommend, and it's funny you said that, in the essential oil classes Thursday, we will probably be doing digestive health, how to stimulate that in the reflexology point. But yes, that could be one of the main reasons. Nonetheless, with whatever the reason is, and please call, get a free consult. This is why this is very important, so we can kind of tailor it to your thing. But whatever the issue is, that is a great example for when to use digestive enzymes. All of them are not created equally. I will tell you the one I use. When you do your consult, when you give me a call, I only, because they're all not created equally. You need something that's going to handle the protein, which is very important. Your body needs that protein to create amino acids. That are the key building blocks, especially for you bodybuilders. You're going to need, for people like me, this enzyme also helps with gluten, so that's very important to know, because sometimes I don't know what I've eaten, especially if I haven't cooked it. I'm looking for the other, because like I said, I got these notes all over. And so Terrazyme is the complex that I use. I had one, if your body is taking too much time trying to absorb this, it's going to zap your energy. That's why people eat and go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's kind of what you're eating, but at the same time, your body's working so hard to try to figure this out that it's wearing, you're wearing yourself out. That's why you're eating and sleeping.
Wow.
Get some enzymes, give your body some support. If you have somebody that has, really stinky foul gas,
yes,
we talked about that with that salad example. The food is sitting there rotten in your stomach. It does not stop. It's perishable, even inside your gut, because it's not designed to sit. So that's a sure sign. If somebody comes and they have bad gas, like, you clear out a room. And the sad part, Joan, and I'm gonna wrap this up.
You just gonna tell
me, but let me just tell you that.
Okay.
The sad part about that is somebody passed gas and that's so funky, and we laugh and carry on about it, or they laugh and carry on about it, and then you come to my office and I said, what's your bowel movements like? We're so sensitive about that. It's like, would you like that? That's personal. No, it's not. Because the fact that you can clear a room out by passing gas, baby, that's a problem. I'm looking at you like you are rotting on the inside. Are you not concerned about that?
Oh,
we're going to laugh that off. So with your kids, if your kids can pass gas and run out the room, not a good sign. Remember how I told you the gut talks, like you said, the gut talks to the brain. The communication is real minimal when you got all of that rotting, festering, decomposing animal flesh in your stomach, along with the rancid oil and the other things that can't be processed. Do you see how it's not funny anymore?
It's not.
It's not funny when you act like that, right? Mm-hmm. That's not funny. So this is a great reason why we want to do the digestive enzymes. They are not all created equally. Like I said, reach out to me. You can always go to my website, mydoterra.com, Michelle Dominique, and look for the enzymes. Some of the things that we're looking for: protease, amylase, lipase, cellulase, maltase. And this enzyme I love in particular for this one very reason. It comes with a tummy tamer blend. And what that means is, when you were talking about every time they eat something, it throws their stomach off. So the first thing that this is going to do is settle that stomach. It has a combination of essential oils like turmeric and other oils that are designed to actually coat and soothe the stomach while these enzymes get to work to breaking down these foods. And if you know your diet is less than stellar, don't ask. Well, I wonder if, yes. Let's just remove all doubt. If you are not And by definition, folks, constipation is you are not having a sizable. You know how much you eat in a day? At some point, you should see something of substance come out of you the same day that you eat. In fact, we have so much stuff in us that if we did not eat that day, we should still be able to go, because that's how much backed up stuff that we have in us, because we have so many preservatives and chemicals. And I didn't even get to talk about that. The chemicals in the food that your body doesn't even recognize. It's like, what is that? So yes, who needs digestive enzymes? Everybody. For the kiddos, I recommend maybe once a day, unless like I said, you have that kid that can clear a room, then yes, they definitely need to have the adult dosage of it. But for adults, yes, I don't, if you're vegan, that's beautiful, but you weren't always vegan. You know what I mean? So yes, that's something that we really got to get serious about as we go forward, because you can get away with a lot of stuff. You can over the counter a lot of things, like that chicken wing smacking you in the face. But I assure you, you will deal with that. That will come up on you at a time when your body is less likely to fight. And gut issues don't just look like constipation. Remember, I said when I had leaky gut, my biggest problem, in addition to weight gain, was brain fog. I couldn't concentrate and I couldn't stay awake after I ate. Mm-hmm. Those were not the signs to me that anything was wrong in my gut.
Mm-hmm. And one more thing before, because I've had the opportunity on this particular interview to just say I had so many wow moments. I feel like, there are a lot of us out here that's just neglecting our bodies. And I really stand corrected tonight, because this is awesome. This is like fresh, new rhema word, pouring out that kind of tells me that I'm not doing the right thing with my body. And I want to make sure I start doing the right thing with my body and getting rid of this gut.
And I'm so glad that you said that, because like I said, and you said it in the very first interview, this is so passionate for me, because every day I have to deal with the fact that if I had known this before my mother's stroke, how and I was, and me, I was considered a healthy eater back then, but this was the stuff that I didn't know that mattered. The simple stuff, the stuff that every day, looking at the buildup, we look at the crisis. And I do have to go, but let me just say this. Okay. Because, when you start talking about this, folks start talking about money. Well, how much is this going to cost? How much is that going to cost? Let me ask you this. How much is it going to cost to go to a nursing home? All right. And God forbid, you're an independent contractor like myself. And so, you don't get insurance on the quick like that. Mm-hmm. This is no joke. Mm-hmm. When it hits you, when you have to deal with it, I get people a lot of times and they will say, well, I'm going to get this test. And then depending on what the test say, okay, the test says you're dying. The test says that you are critically ill. Now, let's pick up right there. Because folks seem to want to get a big diagnosis, and then we have this big thing. And I'm not picking on anybody, because my mother died from it. My father had a diagnosis. I've lost friends to diagnoses. So I'm not making light of it, but act like you got the diagnosis. Act like that and get that serious, because that's how far off you currently are right now. Let's not ever get the diagnosis. Let's not wait until we get the diagnosis and then we're going to do right. Lord, if you get me out of this, no, he's giving you an opportunity. If you have heard this word today, and I have just said, reach out to me, I will do an absolute free consult for you. I'm giving you information that I have paid a great amount to learn. I actually am certified as a health coach. I'm not just showing up doing this, right? You know, I got student loans I'm still paying. You know, if I'm providing this essential oil and energy release class on Thursday nights for free, show up.
That's right.
Show up. Don't wait for the diagnosis because it's not pretty. Why? Because when you get it, you're taking your whole family with you. The whole family. We all got to turn the oar and support you. Be responsible. This is like life insurance. Again, let's not do a GoFundMe. Let's take advantage. Let's do what's right by our bodies. Let's stop acting like you got time because you really don't. You really don't. That stroke hit. I talked to my mother on Saturday, missed one day talking to her. By Monday morning, I would never hear her voice again. I would never hear her call my name again. In a matter of 26 hours, my whole life changed. And it was never the same. This will be 6 years that she has left the earth, but about 12 years since her stroke, and I still grieve. I still have memories of things I had to watch her go through. So if that is not enough for you, I don't know what else is going to compel you to call and get a free consult and figure out what is going on. All right. I hope today that this has truly given someone some thought. At least think about what you're doing and how to make changes. So once again, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
for having me on today. And yes, there are a couple of your listeners who have already reached out to me, and I'm super excited about that. That makes this all worthwhile and makes my mother's suffering and her situation all worthwhile to know that someone else can be blessed by that.
Yes,
Michelle. All right, guys, what a show, what a show. Thank you, Michelle, for the information. So if you don't know how to get rid of your gut by now, you need to schedule that consult. So we're going to have Michelle come back on the show. We want to speak on energy clearing. And you can catch her on her Instagram, which is Michelle the Health Coach. So make sure you go ahead and look her up. And guys, follow her so that you can become healthy. You can be healthy, because today we are actually on a mission to get rid of this gut. So until next time, guys, believe that everything is possible with God. Keep him first. Until the next time we meet, take care of yourself.